pull up. Go talk to her. Well, I'm not going to be trying to be a real, genuine Texans.
Why does your brother do this?
3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, there goes your brother.
She didn't really say anything.
Mikey, what's going on?
I don't know. She's kind of followed me into here.
Something happened to your car?
Can you call somebody or something?
No, for real, is there anywhere we can take you?
In this one episode, we are going to be talking about the found footage film, The Houses October Built, 2014. Ironically, it is directed by Bobby Rowe, who decided to play himself in this film, with Zach Andrews, who was also one of the writers in this film, playing himself, and Brandy Schaefer playing herself. So the synopsis of this one, well, you have 5 friends who are stalked by a group of individuals while they're on the road trip looking for the ultimate haunted house attraction. Welcome, yes, another episode of The Houses That Horror Built, and this one's going to be special for 2 reasons. Well, reason number 1 is finally got Radar to watch another found footage.
Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too comfortable with it.
I don't know. Maybe we're bringing them in a little bit more in the found footage stuff. And second is, yes, once again, my boy got a new book. It is currently on Amazon. It will be in the descriptions below. Please go to Amazon, buy the book. It is a very interesting book with a good concept that, I'll be honest, never read before, but you want to give the viewers a little bit quick take on this one?
Yeah, so this is what's known as grief horror. So it's definitely sad. Go in expecting to get sad. But it's about someone who becomes possessed by some black gunk, and it makes her hear voices. And the only ways that she can keep the voices from just berating her constantly is by drinking alcohol. So it's a devil's choice of, do I live with these voices or do I drink a whole bunch to stop it? So, and that's the premise of it.
I mean, there you go, man. For all you guys who like to drink, buy the book. Might force you to decide not to drink anymore, but hey, that is your choice. But definitely continue to support this guy because he will be up there with Stephen King soon. Remember, Stephen King can't. I'm not knocking you. Sorry, Stephen, if you hear this, but yeah, Stephen King's not going to live forever, and eventually we're going to need somebody to take his place, and maybe it's this guy.
Maybe.
But yeah, this one's an interesting film because it gives you that whole Halloween feel to it, and like the haunts are definitely tied to something that everybody looks forward to when it comes to the fall season. And no matter where you live, there's plenty of haunts, new ones coming out, so definitely go visit them and let us know exactly which haunts and where scared the shit out of you, because we would like to know. I'm not saying we would go, but I'm just saying, we're curious to see what haunts are out there. But yeah, Radar, I want to dive into this film, but before we do that, it's confessional time, and I'm curious, what was your memorable experience whenever you visited a haunt, or have you?
So it's confessional time, so I'm gonna tell the truth. I have actually never been to a haunt before. It's not because I'm a wuss or anything. Well, I'm also a wuss. I have been told I scream like a little girl, so that is fair. But I've just never gone to one because there's a good amount, because I'm in Kansas, that's like perfect place for, a scary corn maze or something.
Yeah.
But I've just never gone to them. I felt more like, I'm more of a, when October hits, stay inside, curl up and watch a spooky movie type deal, more than go to one. So I just never gone to one. What about you? Have you been to at least a couple? More than me, hopefully.
I went to 2.
Oh, there you go.
The first one was very interesting. I was a lot younger, a kid, and they took this ship called the HMS Rose, and it was an old like galleon from back in the 1800s, and they would park it in this Captain's Cove in Bridgeport, and they would turn the thing into a haunt.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I mean, I wish they'd do it again, get another ship, but definitely do it again. But the crazy part about it is, like, as you walk into it, they would have the speakers in the outside, so you heard everybody screaming. Oh. So I went into it with my dad, and I held on to this man's arm as tight as I could because I was scared shitless. And the second one I went to is they don't have it anymore, but it was in Bearsy Park here, and they had a haunt there, and man, I went in, and it's just the jump scares are there. And let me tell you, if you go to one of these, make sure that you have not eaten anything, just in case you accidentally set something loose. I'm not saying I did. I didn't do it, but you could smell somebody did.
Oh no.
But yeah, I mean, would I go to one again? I'm not sure, man. Like I'm tempted to. Like me and Rick, like 2 years ago, we helped do a film in an actual haunt.
Oh, okay.
And nobody was there. It was just us filmmakers with all those props there. And even then, that shit was spooky as shit with nobody there. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should just for the fun, but I don't think I have the cojones to kind of do it, to be honest.
I might be in that same boat with you. I do want to try it, but I'm getting old. I feel like haunts are a younger person's game. At some point it's like, maybe you shouldn't go in a haunt. I'm not at that age yet, but at some point. So maybe sooner rather than later I should go.
The crazy part about these haunts is, they become more and more intense, which is, what the premise of this film is. I mean, you have certain haunts that you have to sign a contract.
Right. You have to sign a waiver, which is wild.
That you're okay for them to touch you.
And that's wild.
Yeah. I mean, you hear all these stories, which, in the beginning of this film, we get, which, once again, I can't hark on it enough. I love found footages that have a documentary style to it.
Yeah.
It opens the door to more realistic aspects of the film, and the fact that, like this one does it to the point where you hear stories about things that have happened to people who work haunts, or, people once they leave the haunts that, do crazy shit. Like, what did you think about the beginning of this movie, that they mentioned certain, like, this dark cloud that hovers over these haunts?
Right. Kind of like, and I really did think that was a cool aspect of, granted, I love the concept of this movie to begin with, that it's just like a 90-minute promo for people to just go and visit haunts. But I think that's great, because there's also something cool about just watching what goes on in a haunt as someone like goes through it and seeing all like the spooky stuff. We can live vicariously through our characters, but I do enjoy, I think it adds an element to, like, there's also this hidden lore behind it. This sort of like, there's something real, like some real creepy stuff going on behind the fake stuff. Especially like all the different stories and stuff, and they get a little darker as the movie goes on. Did you have a particular, like, I don't know if you can remember all of them from the interviewees that they did, but is there one in particular, the stories that you thought was like the creepiest?
I thought it was two of them that were pretty crazy. The one was the girl who worked on, basically doing the designs for the haunts. She was outside and she accidentally got caught and hung herself.
Oh yeah, that one.
And people thought it was part of the haunt. This woman is basically dead, just swinging back and forth, and people didn't realize she was dead. She accidentally, hung herself. And then later on, there was another story similar to that where you had, what was it? The guy, he was working like in the beams and stuff, and he slipped, and same thing, he hung himself. And people once again thought it was part of the acts. Now, I've heard stories about, the psychology of some of the people that work in these places. I'm not, I'm not judging everybody, because I know some people who are okay that work in these places. But like they mentioned, what was it? The guy who worked at the haunt later on that the next day killed somebody.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's like you get into these characters, and the whole purpose is become some twisted individual,
right? That
pushes the boundaries, even for us horror fans.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, when does that barrier between this persona and you break down? And I don't know if every single actor in a haunt is. I hope that that the case is 100% are, but chances are there's at least one or two that they cross that line a little too much.
And I've heard stories even from the haunt that's over here about certain individuals who they did cross the line. You hear the stories of touching somebody where you shouldn't be touching them, and or being overly aggressive, or just being to the point where you're being physical, even beyond where you're supposed to be doing. There was the haunt that was over here had this thing where you would pay, and it would be 5 minutes. They would put you in a coffin.
Oh, oof.
And I'm sorry.
I'm
claustrophobic a little bit, but put me in a coffin. No. I mean, I know the coffin's out in the middle of, I was in the lobby and stuff, but yeah, I think after a while you just start losing your shit.
Yeah. Man, that would be such a wild prank too, to pull on someone of like, here, pay us $10, we'll slap you in this coffin, and then just pretending like you're moving the coffin. That alone, I feel like, would just make me freak out. Just the idea of like, they're moving it somewhere, because your mind would immediately just go to the worst case scenario. Ooh.
Yeah, no. I mean, we're talking about people who work on these haunts, and this particular movie has some very, very interesting characters who work at these haunts. I mean, I know there's one in particular that everybody talks about, in this film, and there are others that I feel like people don't talk about enough. Like, with all the characters on my mind, the whole point in this film is, as they're going to look for this ultimate haunt, is they're ruffling the wrong feathers of people who work in these places where you're not supposed to be going in there with video. They're going in there with video. So they're making enemies as they go. But like all these characters you've seen that work at these haunts, I mean, which one of them kind of freaked you out the most?
I mean, so I have to go with the basic answer, because she is on the cover of the movie, but she's just like that weird doll face girl. She's so creepy. And they do give her like a big spotlight sort of towards the middle of the film, where she shows up on their like tour bus, and she's just being really weird. It's just, it's such an interesting type of weird too, where you're like, it's more like, is this person mentally, like, do they need mental help type disturbed as opposed to just like also just creepy. So it's very memorable, especially in that scene. And her mask detail is also very unique.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of reminds me of like a underrated horror masks, like the Collector's mask. You know, his mask is really creepy, but it doesn't get talked about enough. I think her mask is also super creepy and just doesn't get brought up enough.
I thought, all right, this is, if I have one knock on this film, is this. I wanted so much more of her though.
That I do want more of her, and she's just not there that much.
She's not, and I think that's one of the most disappointing things in this film is the fact that you have this character. You're never seeing a character like her in any other film. I'm sorry. And then their mannerisms are, I mean, she goes into the car, I mean, the SUV with them, right? And she just sits there and looks around. And the moment she does that scream, I'm sorry, man, but you gotta go. You gotta go. You know, and she just got up and walked out.
Yeah, it's pretty funny that they're not like. It's so funny that the character's not like actively trying to shove her out or anything. They just let her get up and go.
They're just sitting there. What do you think? Did you think about the guy in the rabbit suit in the woods with the axe?
He was also pretty creepy. But I mean, you know, like like I said, when you got this girl, and like I feel like her it's just like the menacing nature behind her, and then she doesn't do anything, kind of adds just a little more to her mystique. But there's a good chunk of that too with the other characters where like someone will just show up and they just won't do anything necessarily, like, you know, violent, and then they'll just leave.
Like the one I remember the scene where I think before they found her, where they're sitting there in a campfire, and that guy just shows up out of nowhere and sits down and joins them.
Yeah.
And he's just like looking at them, and the dude starts talking. He goes, yeah, you know, this backwoods stuff. The guy listen, what do you mean backwoods stuff? And he just starts staring, and they all start turning the other way. That dude scared the shit out of me because he came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And once again, what's wrong with these people? You just let anybody sit down with you?
It's just pop a squat. Anyone come on in from the freaking backwoods.
There was that one. It was the big ass clown that blocked the car for a little. Yeah, all these. I give these people props because those characters were so intimidating. Yeah,
they were, and like, plus the main cast was just far too committed. But you know, like, you know, now that I'm part of like your guys' YouTube channel and I have my own TikTok videos and stuff, you know, the algorithm pushes us, you know, to do more and more. And I can now understand a little bit why, you know, they're not just like, we're calling it quits right now. And that, you know, some lady with a doll mask shows up on our tour bus and said, they're like, well, we started the series, you know, we got to finish it through.
I mean, you had that character. You had the character, was it the clown that would just stand on the porch the whole time watching?
Yeah.
He was creepy as fuck. I mean, it's almost like they gave you such a mixture of characters that at the same time, you wish all those characters were consistently in the entire movie.
Yeah, like there was just more of them. And like, that'd be so freaky to like, and it would really encourage people to have multiple viewings if you had these like characters just in the background while they're in these haunts and stuff, and like but like just really towards the like edges of the screen to where you had to look for them. I feel like that would just make it so much creepier.
Like if she was on the whole ride after that scene with them till they get to the next song, that would have been great. Because all right, I have to ask, did you ever watch the second one? Sequel to this one?
I didn't watch the sequel, but I know like at least the beginning of the sequel, and I feel kind of bummed about it.
As I was going to ask you, when you find out this whole thing wasn't what it was supposed to be, and you're like, really? So you had me going through all this, and then this is what? I was so pissed. I mean, I was pissed off when I started watching the second one because the way this one begins is with the girl in the trunk of the car.
Mm-hmm.
and then it ends with her in the trunk of the car, and the sequels explains the whole thing. You're like, why? I mean, why just ruin it, man?
Oh, I mean, sorry, audience. I mean, there is no sequel to the houses that the houses October built. There's no sequel. Just don't
even watch. Don't even
watch it. Don't do it.
Don't
yeah, the ending is so much better. Like, it should have just ended right here.
Right.
Like with this movie, because the ending is so great for what it is. You know, it's the perfect, you fucked around, you found out.
Yeah. It's just so disappointing.
Yeah. Oh, well. But hey, this movie itself is not, though. So
no, this movie is it does pique your interest into the haunts. It does elevate each haunt as you go, which that's what I think I liked a lot about this film, is that the more haunts they went to, the more screwed up they were.
Yeah.
And you know, you saw the levels of just, all right, this is the regular haunt. These are the extreme ones. I mean, there was one in particular where I think this is the haunt before they made it to the last haunt, where they're walking in and the girl's just freaking out. But there's one scene in particular where you had this area where this person looks like they're trying to escape and they get pulled back and then they close the blinds and the person's screaming and yelling. You're like, hold up, man. But see, that if they would have held it there a little longer,
yeah,
give us as a viewer, like, all right, are they fucking killing these people now? that would have been awesome.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. I do think this is. See, I always feel like this film kind of goes hand in hand with the Hell House LLC.
Oh yeah, they're both they do have a very similar feel for some reason. Now, Hell House, you can watch that any time of year, but I feel like that house is October built. You just have to do it right during spooky season.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it kind of, once you see this movie, you're like, all right, Halloween's around the corner. We're getting there.
Let's go.
For us horror fans, it's the best time of year. Not the summer, not the spring, not the winter, the fall.
Right there.
Yes.
Perfect weather.
Any last thoughts on this one?
I will say that my other only knock on this film is that for some reason it gets kind of horny in the last like third of the movie for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is this here? And maybe that was to pad runtime. I don't know. But it was just kind of weird. I was like, you don't have to go into the strip club for like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. I mean, all right, let's stop going to haunts. Let's go look at some ladies. And then what about this poor girl? Like, all right, fuck, you guys are forcing me to go in this place too. I mean, they just really messed her up, man.
They put her through the ringer, and it's just like, again, the scene is not needed.
No.
It adds nothing. So that's my only other knock on it, is like, you don't need that scene. But other than that, I think it's a pretty solid found footage. And I would recommend to people who maybe are novices to found footage, because I feel like this is a good entry per se into it. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
If you could take this one, you'll be ready for the next ones, which are more disturbing. but yeah, I'm kind of glad we did found footage, man. Damn, I got you coming around slowly.
Oh my gosh.
Trust me, slowly.
Oh no.
No, I gotta get you to watch a couple more. But yeah, this one, I agree that it is one to watch. It does give you access. You know, if you've never been to haunts, after watching this, you're gonna know what they look like, the characters that they basically draw, and the fact that it is something that is synonymous with, you know, Halloween. I mean, it wasn't, and the haunts have grown so much over the years. I mean, I know like the one that's in, I mean, we have a couple. We have the Trail of Terror here. There's a couple all over Connecticut. And the one that I'm, used to seeing the whole time is, before they would just be open for, Halloween the fall time. Now they're open almost all year round.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But they do different themes. They actually have a Valentine's theme. Yeah, so they were really, extending. They're, they're putting more money into it, which is all, pretty awesome, especially for horror fans, and people love seeing that stuff. But yeah, I mean, definitely watch it. It's currently streaming on only YouTube, but just type it in. It's there for free. Watch it before YouTube takes it down. But yeah, watch it there for free, which is crazy because the next video after watching this one was the Titanic, which I didn't understand that, but I don't know what the algorithm was, but go from this to Titanic.
All right.
It's kind of weird. But yeah, next episode we were going to be talking about a film that I could say Radar and I both agree needs more love. As we are going to visit Night House 2020, which kind of goes hand in hand with his book of grieving, because it is almost the same thing. Yeah, we're going to do grieving horror.
There you go.
Interesting.
Uncharted territory for the House is Horror Built.
Oh, maybe we'll get sentimental. Maybe you'll watch us cry too.
Oh my goodness.
All right, this is JR with my co-host Radar. Once again, get the book. If you are a subscriber to this channel and you won't have any of his books in your collection, tisk. Don't unsubscribe though. We still need you. I'm just saying that for all you subscribers, purchase the book, support horror, support independent horror authors.
I appreciate it.
So keep us going, keep him going, because without horror authors, there are no stories, and we're just going to get sequel after sequel after sequel of the same bullshit horror movie. So till next time, don't forget, like, subscribe, share, because we have more houses to visit. And maybe next one will be yours, because I'm sure there's horror tales in the house you currently live in. We want. Let us know below. Anything else, my buddy?
Peace.
Peace.